Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we step into one of the most puzzling, emotional, and heavily debated true crime cases of the last decade, a case that began as a simple birthday sleepover but ended in tragedy, confusion, unanswered questions, and a nationwide call for justice. This is the story behind the question so many still ask today: what really happened to Tamla Horsford, the loving mother of 5 who never made it home from a night meant to be filled with laughter and friendship? It was November 3, 2018, in Forsyth County, Georgia, a quiet suburban area known for calm neighborhoods, family-friendly streets, and peaceful nights. But beneath that stillness, something unimaginable was about to unfold. Tamla Horsford, a 40-year-old mother with a warm smile and a reputation for kindness, had been invited to a small birthday gathering hosted by one of her friends. The event was meant to be lighthearted: food, wine, conversations, games, and a chance to relax from the stress of everyday life. Many of the guests were women who knew each other well, and the atmosphere, according to those present, was relaxed, cheerful, and friendly. Tamla arrived with her usual positive energy, greeting everyone, laughing, sharing stories, and joining the fun like any close friend would. Witnesses later described her as the life of the party, full of smiles, dancing, drinking moderately, and simply enjoying the night. Videos and pictures taken that evening showed her alive and joyful, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing alarming, nothing that hinted at the tragedy that would follow. As the night grew late, most of the guests headed to sleep, one by one. A few stayed awake longer, watching TV or chatting. The home had multiple levels, a balcony, and a backyard lined with grass and stones. Tamla, in her usual friendly style, stepped out to the back deck at one point, a moment that would become the center of the entire investigation. No one knows exactly how long she stood outside or what she was doing, but the official report would later claim that she somehow fell from the balcony to the ground below. The next morning, around 7:45 a.m., Tamla's body was discovered face down in the backyard. She was still wearing the pajamas she had slept in, a white onesie with paw prints, and she was not moving. According to the 911 call, the homeowners immediately panicked. The caller seemed unsure, confused, and repeatedly mentioned that they believed she fell off the balcony. Within minutes, emergency services arrived, but it was too late. Tamla was pronounced dead. What should have been a straightforward tragic accident quickly became one of the most controversial investigations in recent memory. The more details that emerged, the more inconsistencies people noticed, and the more the public began asking, was this really just a fall, or was something being overlooked? The official autopsy concluded that Tamla died from multiple blunt force injuries consistent with a fall. But skeptics immediately raised questions. Some of her injuries seemed unusual for a fall from that height. She had cuts, abrasions, and injuries on different sides of her body, and one wrist was severely dislocated. Her family wondered, if she fell forward, why were some of the wounds located in places that didn't make sense? Others questioned why no one heard anything during the night. The house wasn't huge, and a fall from a balcony is not silent, especially if someone loses balance or tries to grab onto the railing. Another strange detail emerged from the report. Tamla had alcohol in her system, along with traces of THC and a prescription medication used for anxiety. But her family insisted she was not someone who mixed substances recklessly. Friends said she rarely lost control while drinking, so how intoxicated was she really? And even if she was, would that alone cause such a severe fall without any noise, struggle, or sign of calling out? Then came the timeline inconsistencies. Some guests claimed they heard footsteps or movements late at night. Some recalled doors opening and closing. One person even said Tamla seemed emotional earlier in the night, something others did not corroborate. People also questioned why the security cameras outside the home were reportedly not functioning, a detail that made the situation even more suspicious. When police arrived, they treated the scene as an accident almost immediately. But critics argued that evidence could have been lost because of this assumption. Some of the guests had left the house before authorities arrived. Others had already cleaned certain areas, thinking nothing criminal had occurred. Tamla's family felt that the investigation lacked urgency and thoroughness. They questioned whether bias or negligence played a role in how the case was handled, especially given the racial dynamics of the town and Tamla being the only black woman at the gathering. Online communities began digging deeper, analyzing photos, autopsy details, and statements from party attendees. The more they uncovered, the more divided opinions became. Some argued the injuries absolutely could have resulted from a fall. Others insisted the pattern didn't match. Then there was the issue of communication. Text messages between certain guests appeared tense or defensive when discussing Tamla's death afterward. Some people deleted social media accounts. People wondered why. By 2020, the case had gained nationwide attention. Celebrities and activists demanded a reinvestigation. Under public pressure, law enforcement did reopen the case briefly, but once again concluded it was an accident. The decision sparked even more frustration from the community and Tamla's family, who still believe something is missing, something undiscovered, something unspoken. The core questions remain hauntingly simple. If Tamla fell, what caused it? Why didn't anyone hear anything? Why were some injuries difficult to explain? Why were key investigative steps delayed or overlooked? Why are so many details inconsistent? To this day, no one has been charged. No one has taken responsibility. The case officially remains an accident, yet the mystery of what happened during those final moments continues to inspire debate, documentaries, podcasts, and discussions among true crime investigators and everyday citizens who believe justice hasn't been fully served. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of Tamla Horsford reminds us how quickly life can change, how a night of celebration can turn into a lifetime of questions. It forces us to think about the importance of thorough investigations, fair treatment, transparency, and listening to families who refuse to accept incomplete answers. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most confusing and heartbreaking cases in recent years. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and take care.